Hello, okay, so last time we talked about how we're destroying meaning and we're destroying the conditions that support life on Earth. This is not a fact that I'm happy about, but it is a fact. And one of the things we talked about is biodiversity. And so today we need to talk about why biodiversity actually matters, and it's not just like some compassionate, altruistic love for other species. It's also deeply, deeply connected to our own well-being and our own societal prosperity. So, first, the first argument for biodiversity is really a mathematical and statistical one. When you are doing statistics and you want to be sure of something, you want a sample size much bigger than one. You want a very large sample size. And what we have when we destroy biodiversity, if we want to be sure that an ecosystem is not going to collapse, what you need is biodiversity. You need a diverse amount of species, diverse genetics, diverse functions, diverse, you name it, right? Diverse food sources. You need the diversity so that you can ensure that the system is robust, and so that when you remove one species, it's not going to collapse the whole ecosystem. So an example of this is in Yellowstone. When you add or remove wolves, it perturbs the entire ecosystem, from bears to salmon to beaver to you name it, because wolves are so dominant, or were so dominant, and with or without them, it causes extreme fluctuations in the functioning of the ecosystem. So that's not a very robust ecosystem, and it needs more biodiversity in order to become so. Um, so, if we're talking about the survival of life on Earth, we need biodiversity. If we're talking about will life survive all of the extreme tribulations we're putting through the planet through by rapidly changing the temperature of the Earth, which has not changed this quickly in millions of years, will life survive these changes? We don't know. It's becoming less clear, and if we want the best chances, we need to protect biodiversity. So that's good on the conservationists. Um, Here's the next point. If you think, fuck the bears, fuck the otters, I don't give a shit. I'm a human, and I don't need biodiversity. This is a waste of my money, waste of my time. What do I get out of it? You're wrong. And when your friends and family are starving from a famine or a drought, and our monoculture cropping is failing, you will find out that you're wrong. But let me give you some examples. Our food systems are extremely dependent on diversity, and we, in our hubris, have thought that we can remove the diversity from the system and implement fields, hundreds of thousands of acres of corn, wheat, and soy in their place, and make giant, vast deserts in place of complex ecosystems and environments. And what we get from that is things like in the 50s, where we used to eat one type of banana called the Gros Michel, and it was grown all over the world. But because of globalization, the Panama disease began to infect banana trees, and it spread all over the world rapidly because of globalization. And it wiped out almost every single banana tree, and we almost didn't have any other bananas. Instead, what happened is we had one other variety, very, very obscure at the time, the Cavendish, and we started to grow that instead. Now, researching this, you can find that the Cavendish has developed diseases as well that are rapidly spreading, and we're having shortages of bananas, and if they cost more at the supermarket, this is why. And what is the real root cause of this? The root cause is that we're growing one crop, and we think that we can survive on that. We need to have diversity. We need to grow different varieties of fruit and not specialize in one. We need to have polycultures of agriculture, where you have multiple crops on the same land, and you maybe rotate your cattle or your animals through that pasture as well at the same time. This can have a far lower effect on the carbon emissions of that meat, while also restoring the the soil itself can capture many emissions. So this is yet to be studied on the exact emissions, but it's definitely lower, and it's definitely a more robust system of agriculture. So that's one example of where our systems are collapsing. Another easy example is elm trees. Have you seen an elm tree lately? Probably not. They all died because of Dutch elm disease. Luckily, we have many other varieties of trees, but the combination of globalization and planting the same exact variety of crop, tree, you name it, of animal, growing the same kind of animal, and then pumping our cows full of antibiotics to try to treat them for the diseases that we spread to them and allow to proliferate. These are examples of where we destroy biodiversity and we pay heavy, heavy, heavy prices. And we will continue to do so until we learn how to sustain ourselves working with diversity instead of against it.